Well, to me, this is paradise. I haven't found any place I'd rather be. To me, it's as close to the Garden of Eden as it could be.
My name is Denise Bowden.
My name is Nathan Hill.
My name is Cindy Faith.
I'm Hunter Leonard.
I'm Captain Barry.
My name is Jimmy Bowden.
Stanley Field Jester.
And I have lived on Chincoteague my whole life.
I've lived here all my life.
I lived here all my life.
This is going to be great. I'm so excited about this interview.
It was nice growing up on Chincoteague. But didn't have a lot of traffic. It was real nice. I remember going to elementary school on Church Street. I remember they rang the bell to go home for lunch. And a lot of them didn't get to go because they lived too far, down on Ridge Road and stuff like that, but it was nice.
The downtown of Chincoteague has changed quite a bit. If you look at old photographs of Chincoteague pre-1920, you had a lot of twisty-turnies on the street, even photographs of trees in the middle of the road. They didn't want to cut the tree down. The road went around the tree, and a lot of wooden structures. That changed with the two fires in 1920s. One took out the entire west side of Main Street, and the other one took out the other side of the street. So you have a complete rebirth of downtown Chincoteague in the 1920s. The buildings were larger, stronger, many made out of brick or stone at that point, but it was still a working downtown. These were shops and businesses that would have helped the downtown, or the island of Chincoteague.
Chincoteague is very resilient. We started out as pretty much a working waterman town. We've moved our way up into tourism. There's been several different industries here all along, but we do have a rich history of some innovation when it comes to the seafood industry and definitely in tourism. We've evolved over time, that's for sure.
If you went back in history to Chincoteague 50 years ago, 100, 200 years ago, the people here were definitely working watermen at the heart. Everybody in some fashion was making a living on the water. It might be fishing, it might be oysters and clams, or it might be duck hunting.
I started out working with my father. They wouldn't let me play sports or anything. It was always I came home from school, I went to work with him. We worked on the water mainly. It was crabbing, fishing, oystering, clamming. That's what I started out. We still crabbed a lot. We did that really well in the spring, and then some in May. We would do the salt crabs. And then we'd work on the water from there right through the winter. Start all over again in the spring.
And then I saw these local boys coming by with their scows, and I'm like, oh, that's nice. And then I started working on boats, and yeah, I make my living 100% working on the water.
The importance of seafood on Chincoteague is 100% the oyster industry. That is the number one thing. Oysters were everything. If you look back at census records from 1800 all the way until 1930, 90 to 95% of the head of household on Chincoteague listed themselves as either oystermen or watermen. It was everybody that was working in that industry. They supplemented that with duck hunting and crabbing and other fishing, but oysters really was what we were dependent on. Oysters were incredibly popular in the very big cities in the north, and we were making a tremendous amount of money shipping that seafood to them.
See, my grandfather owned a fish dock, so I probably started working on the water when I was about 12. Get up in the morning early, go out there and work your butt to death. When the tide gets up, come home, and the next day start all over again. When you work on the water, you work on tides. And if the tide's 5 o'clock in the morning, you start 5. If it's 12 o'clock in the afternoon, you start 12 o'clock. If you could make a living at it, a good living, it would be perfect.
What is something that being an oysterman that other people don't understand? How hard it is?
I don't think they understand about walking in mud up to your knees and getting muddy all over. And you have to cut every oyster. You put them up, you have to knock all the little ones off, the shells off.
Hey, what'd you get me for Christmas?
A culling hammer. I told she was the only woman that ever got a culling hammer for Christmas.
I worked at a shucking house. I was shucking scallops. I walked in there and There was a load of people in there working, and I was observing. One of the guys on the line says, "Come on." He gave me his little shucking knife, and we're shucking scallops. And I'm struggling with it, and they were so fast, they were like, pow, 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 and I'm like, but by the third, fourth day, I got it.
I ended up working at William Bunny Seafood there on Main Street where Don's restaurant is. That actually was a big shucking house down there on the dock. And I rolled shells, and I'd get up 3 o'clock in the morning, ride my bike to work, and then work till about noon, and then come home and rest. Actually, I convinced my dad. In the family, we had an old oyster house down on the dock of the depot. And his father did it, open oysters and that. So we got that cleaned up, and I started on oyster house. We started shucking oysters. I had five guys would come in, and we'd shuck from 4 in the morning until about 10.
There was an insatiable appetite for waterfowl in restaurants in the north, New York, Philadelphia, other cities like that. And the duck hunters here were filling that market. They were hunting and not only feeding their own family, but shipping some of that to these northern ports. So it was a way to supplement their income. And that went on for, 200 years.
My name is Jimmy Bowden. I learned from Miles Hancock. I'd go up there and cut his grass, pull a grass cutter on a bicycle, cut his grass, and then sit there and watch him. Made miniatures like this here, just started out making miniatures, and then it led to making bigger ducks. I just sat there after I got through cutting grass, sat there and watch him whatever, and chop them, and watch him carve them, stuff like prime them, picked it right up. Yep, all you had to do was just sit there and watch him, not talk a whole lot, just sit there and watch his move.
Duck hunting on Chincoteague is a tradition that goes back to the beginning of people living here in the 1650s. It's a way to hunt and feed your family. That is what it's at its core. And decoys have actually been around for thousands and thousands of years. Native Americans in the area even made decoys out of reeds and things like that. So it's a way to feed your family. It's a way to support that hunting practice. Now, as things move along until the 20th century, people had certain styles and uniqueness to the decoys they were making, just like any art form, things evolve and change. It wasn't really until the 1950s that people started to take this working decoy and elevate it to an art form. Instead of hunting with it, they might have put it on their mantle. And as we move into the 50s, 60s, and 70s, some of these pieces became so coveted. They're right up there with, traditional art for collectors, and they're worth, hundreds of thousands of dollars, some of them.
Yeah, it's an art form. Some of the carvers, their work has become, world famous. We have world famous carvers on the island, and I'm glad that happened. I used to be a duck hunting guide. I still have some of my first decoys that I carved. They're terrible. I've had some really good decoy carvers look at it and say, Captain Barry, it's awful. It's terrible. The head's this way and the beak is wrong and everything's wrong, but at least you tried.
Once I get it off that bandsaw, it goes right to there, and put it in that vise and take a spoke shave. It's not much work to it. Once I get through on that saw, I've cut that little finger off 2 times. They'll eat you up. And bandsaw, if you don't watch them, I take chances with it. If it grabs a knot or something, hit a pull. Just take it out there and put it on the sander, put a head on it, then you start priming it and stuff. It won't take me long. And once I start, I'll do so many colors on them. But that sun makes it right on there. I find a lot of decoys in the 62 storm.
We have had some pretty serious storms over the years. There's records of one that was in the 1830s that had some sort of tidal wave event. We had a huge storm in the 1930s also, so severe that it cut the inlet between Ocean City, Maryland and Chincoteague Island, which has remained open today. The real big storm here on Chincoteague that many people still remember is the Ash Wednesday storm of 1962. That was really a devastating storm. It was 6 feet of standing water on much of Chincoteague Island for over 3 days. We actually had a very important poultry component to our industry at the time. And unfortunately, that was decimated overnight with that storm. So we had a time after that storm happened and the waters receded that we have to figure out what we're going to do next. Poultry did not seem like a viable option to continue. The oyster industry, although still helping the economy, was not the #1 industry anymore. Oysters just weren't as popular worldwide as they had been in the past.
Nobody knew it was coming. Last Sunday, I guess they called it stormed. Nobody knew it was coming. I lived on Clark Street. They call it Madcap. That night, I can remember that night, was a friend of mine, which he's died since then. We were riding bicycles, and we were downtown. And where that Chinese Vietnam restaurant is in town, I can remember Mr. Blake had that stored in, that little restaurant he had it. And there was a sign just swinging, blowing that night. Nobody knew what was coming. I rode with him up to Ocean Boulevard where he lived. Then I come back on Clark Street. And next morning, stuff probably woke me up, and the water was in the house. That silk mud all over everything. It come in the house, I guess, about that high. We had hosed it out and stuff like that. And I found a boat, floated up there, belonged to a friend of mine, and I pushed that boat from Clark Street to Church Street, and we had to leave the island. I was young, had to leave the island. How did they recover? I don't know. It was a job. I had to leave and go to the mainland. I couldn't stay. I guess because I was young or something. I had to leave. And I remember seeing them tractor and trailers coming off Chincoteague with them ponies from Chincoteague where they had drowned it. Looked like carousel horses. Feet in the air and stuff. I guess take them somewhere.
We all know that we live on an island. And when the weather gets bad, we all have to stick together. No one's going to come and help us really fast. We're like a pack of dogs. We're going to look out for each other.
That is the moment in history where Chincoteague decided to move towards tourism. And it really is a big shift on our island at that time.
You know, there was this pony that came along named Misty and really set the tone for where we are today. Marguerite Henry and the Beebe family really put us on the map.
Marguerite Henry writing Misty and that book being the success that it was really changed things on Chincoteague. Pony penning was absolutely 100% regionally very popular. But when Marguerite Henry writes this book, it is a celebrated story that is all over the United States, other countries. The book is still a very popular book. It's in many different languages. You will find that book almost in every country, in the world. It brought people to Chincoteague. It made people aware of the island that never would have heard of us before. She really did elevate that pony penning to something that's worldwide status.
The draw of Pony Penning Week is mainly due to, again, the book Misty of Chincoteague. People have read it all over the world. It's been printed in several different languages. And people read that and they weren't sure at first if this was really a real place.
Oh boy, so where did the ponies come from? That is the biggest question ever. There's two competing ideas, but I really don't think they're competition to each other at all. One is that they came from a Spanish galleon, which is romantic and wonderful and exciting. And there's also the possibility that they were livestock that had gotten away from their owners and just flourished on Chincoteague. The truth is probably a combination of the two. We do have evidence, concrete evidence, that there were Spanish galleons that sunk off of Chincoteague, and there's actually first-hand accounts from people living here that not only did people survive those wrecks, but horses also came ashore. And we have DNA evidence now that's recently come out with the National Geographic. So we know for a fact, yes, some of those ponies did come from shipwrecks. You can feel confident with that answer. But also people living in the area here for hundreds of years had livestock. They had horses and cattle and pig and sheep. And some of those animals were grazing over on Chincoteague. And it's very possible that a domesticated horse could have bred with a Spanish Mustang that had been in the wild over there. Nobody's here documenting things 200, 300 years ago, so we just kind of mesh those two stories together, and that's your final answer.
Pony Penning Week to me is the most magical place on earth. There's no other way for me to describe it. Being born and raised here, my family goes back generations. If you're a local, you want to be here. I don't care if you're sitting home on your back porch, pony swim day, you still want to be on Chincoteague.
There is nothing more exciting than pony penning. I've been to many parts of the world, all over the country. I've been to festivals all over. I've never seen the kind of excitement at another festival like you see here for pony penning. People are enthusiastic about the event. It is a family-friendly event.
It is a completely different time of year to everything else here. The energy leading up to it definitely changes. The people that come in town, some of them have been coming for 50 years, maybe even longer, fell in love with this when they were kids. And so to come here, it's almost like they get giddy. Chincoteague is kind of the homecoming place for that week, where you have locals come and everybody enjoys it.
To me, yeah, most magical place on earth, pony penning week. Wouldn't be anywhere else in the whole wide world. South Herd Roundup, the Saturday before pony swim, is when the cowboys go out, the pony committee goes out, and we round up the southern herd and we put them in the South Corral, and that's where they'll spend their time until swim day. Sunday is North Herd Roundup, same thing, it's just a repeat of Saturday, except it's up north with a lot more ponies. And saltwater cowboys get out there real early on that day, and they start rounding up the North Herd, put them in the North Pen, and then they wait until Monday morning. Monday's beach walk is another early day. The cowboys get out there along about 4 o'clock in the morning, and then they take the northern herd out of the North Corral, gently walk them south down the beach, and then once you get closer to the area where there's public parking and everything, then you have a lot of people there that are watching all this take place. It's really a very serene, quiet atmosphere that morning. You hear the ocean waves breaking and the sun's coming up, and then you start to hear the cheer of people when they see all these ponies coming in. And what the cowboys do is we take the northern herd and we just lead them down the beach road there, and then we put them in the corral with the southern herd, so they meet up Monday morning.
I also remember as a child going to see that, and maybe 20 people were there. Now there's thousands. Everybody loves it so much they want to taste every little bit of the story. It's an incredible change.
Tuesday's kind of a day of, rest for the most part as far as the ponies are concerned. There's a select few of the pony committee that goes and checks on which buybacks that we're going to keep for this year. They do that by looking at lineage, which ponies came from where and which foals came from where and things like that. So this is pretty a selective process.
That's what I'm saying. This is $250,000 sitting here. It's wild to look at. So the buybacks are these ones right here were last year's buybacks. So the buybacks are the ponies that we, the firemen, are going to keep to replenish the herd's integrity and keep the herd going for future generations. And so in the 1990s, we established this program, lets the public be involved in the naming process. Prior to that, the ponies really never had names. And so nowadays, it allows everybody to be involved. And especially a lot of people that can't have horses. Not everybody's got, a farm and a stable and everything like that. We handpick a few every year. So it's a huge, huge part of pony management. But now it's really become a big part of our fundraising too. So
Pony swims a day. I mean, that's what 50,000 people come here for, basically. I keep using the word magical, but it is magical.
It's the most adrenaline-driven event you will ever see. There's so many people, and just the squeals of joy from the kids and everybody clapping and just cheering on those ponies. You'll never see anything like it. It is such an old-fashioned, traditional thing. I'm thrilled that it's still as popular as it was back in the day and getting more popular every single year.
A pony swim is where saltwater cowboys take ponies and make them swim from Chincoteague to Chincoteague. My uncle is a saltwater cowboy, and he also rounds up the horses.
That's like Christmas week, pony penning week. As far as a captain doing it, I still get excited because we get there early. We're there by 5 a.m. We're anchored. No matter what time they swim, we're there at 5 a.m. to get a spot. And then I love talking with the people as we're waiting. We might wait 3 or 4 or 5 hours sometimes. And we'll talk, I'll show pictures and we'll tell some stories, we'll nap a little bit. Then when they bring them out to the marsh where we can see them, oh, everybody gets excited. I said, they're out there, they're ready.
There's thousands of people lining the shore. There's hundreds of people out on the boats. I'm out there on the dock. The crowd's going crazy. The ponies are over here. And then let me tell you, once those ponies make a break and get into the water, and that crowd over here on my side just erupts, I get goosebumps just thinking about it right now.
I always, me personally, my favorite thing has always been when we put the ponies into the water. When the cowboys would come down and start cracking the whips and yelling, and the ponies would jump in the water, and of course the crowd's going wild and everything. That for me was always the most iconic moment of the week.
Everybody's getting so excited, and I get excited. I've had some lady on board twice. She gets so excited, she actually starts to cry. She's so into it. And I actually feel myself tear up a little bit. It's that, I don't know how emotional it is. It's kind of neat to see.
I get goosebumps because the excitement and the enthusiasm that the crowd has really transfers over to us too. And we just get just as excited as they do. I don't care, if I live to be 100, and I watch, a pony swim during my 100th year of living, I'm still going to get just as excited. It never gets old. Never gets old. We rest them for about 45 minutes to an hour. That helps get the crowds out of the way and things like that. Gives them time to settle down, gives the cowboys time to, make sure their horses are okay, that they're on. And then we'll take them down Ridge Road, BB Road, Main Street. Very gentle, easy walk, and we put them in the corral there behind the carnival grounds. Thursday we have the auction. It starts promptly at 8 o'clock. Another fun day because you get to see people's dreams come true, especially little kids.
I think people were expecting an annual event out of the pony penning when it first began. Initially, pony penning was not an auction at all. It was just a flat out sale of the ponies. But after a couple years, they realized, it would be more fair, and also they'd probably make a little bit more money if they did an auction instead of just a flat fee for the ponies.
And these ponies, people save their money, little kids save their money, mom and dad brings their kids, and they're all excited because these ponies make very good pets. And you wouldn't believe the people that will send us back every year pictures of what their pony's doing, or they're starting to ride and things like that. So auction day is exciting as well because 1, you're making people's dreams come true. 2, we're helping the cause of the herd by thinning it out because we're only allowed to keep up to 150 of them over there. And of course we're raising money for, the fire company and the town as well. So.
So we had 2 devastating fires in downtown Chincoteague in the 1920s, 1920 and 1924, each of them taking out huge swaths of the downtown. We really did not have proper fire equipment. We did not have an organized fire department, but after 2 devastating fires, that really was the catalyst to doing something dramatically different to raise money for this budding fire department. And they looked at an event that we were already doing successfully and tried to incorporate it into their own event. That's where we get our first fireman's pony penning. So part of the fire department is, of course, pony care, and I'm quite confident our fire department is the only one that actually has a pony committee. We can research that, but I believe we are. That is a big responsibility. You're not only helping people who have gotten hurt, fighting fires, traffic accidents all over, but they have to care for the ponies as well. That's the part of the job I think they really do cherish and love. The saltwater cowboys are the men and women that round up the ponies. They're also the ones that go out there and take care of them if there's an injury or they need some kind of assistance. It just ties into the fact that these are all volunteers. They all want to come out and do things to help this fundraiser happen.
Okay, I'm Hunter Leonard. I'm the Public Relations Officer for the Chincoteague Volunteer Fire Company. I've been a cowboy for 10 years. One of the biggest memories for me is always growing up on the farm. We always had free roaming ponies, and I would ride my bike from my house to my grandparents' house, which is probably half a mile or so. I'd always stop and kind of talk and pet the ponies and things like that. I always remember being very fond of that.
Saltwater cowboys, they are the backbone of all things ponies. They're the ones that go out on horseback, and we're also the ones that go out there on four-wheelers or just in our muddy boots and go out and help take care of ponies. Roundup ponies, vet check them, things like that. Saltwater cowboys got that nickname way back before I even got in the fire company, and it's a perfect moniker for them. Saltwater cowboys, it just doesn't come any better than that, because they literally are out there on horseback, in the mud, in the muck, and doing what we have to do to take care of these wonderful ponies.
So a typical pony swim is really interesting because I go from running a tour boat business every day in the summertime, and then I just basically shut down that entire week. And so a lot of it is all volunteer related. And so the carnival is open every night, so we're always dedicated to that. And then pony swim really starts early every single morning, whether it's the Southern Herd Roundups like 4 a.m. You know, we got to be at the barn so much earlier, and so we're at the barn saddling up well before sunrise, and then we're usually on the horse by sunrise. It's kind of unreal how many man hours go in that week, and I always tell people I'm always super busy. That, you know, if I can catch a midday nap, and that's about all the sleep I'm going to get. It takes really skilled horsemen and women to do it. It's a really difficult, I would say even dangerous thing. Swimming on horseback is one of the things you don't really think about, but we have to do it. And you know, people like my grandfather, they used to do the whole thing on horseback. Yeah, so back in the day when people like my grandfather were being cowboys, they didn't have to go over and tend to the herd as we do now. And so our job started out as just, you know, rounding up 3 times a year. Before then, it was just the once. And so over time, it has gotten more and more and more involved to the point now where, you know, if there's a sick or injured pony, we have to go and help it. We've been very proactive in this whole pony management and care, and that's why a lot of our stuff is bringing the kind of money that it does, I think, is because they see that these guys are wild ponies, but they get cared for just like a domestic pony. And so the role of being a cowboy or girl has really changed to be a lot more demanding than it used to be. And so it's a blessing to be it, but it is very demanding.
So the saltwater cowboys, technically, are, yes, men and women from our fire department, but it's also exemplary equestrians from around the country that take time out of their own lives, take vacations from their own jobs, come here at their own expense to help the firemen make that event happen the way it does. It's just, it adds to that feeling that people really do care about the island and want this tradition to continue. So 100 years of pony penning, it's kind of amazing that any tradition for any town has lasted that long, but it is a testament to this island and the people here. They're very much a volunteer-driven community. Everybody wants to help each other. Maybe it is because it is an island that everybody is so focused on helping each other out, but who wouldn't want to continue being with, caring for, and seeing the wild ponies? It's the ponies that are the superstars of the show.
I cannot begin to express how important the ponies are to not only to Chincoteague, but to the Eastern Shore and to Virginia.
I mean, they're the key to the kingdom now. I see, you know, my entire living livelihood is basically dedicated to just them. I mean, whether it's people going to see them or people going to the refuge to see them, you know, the fire company's entire existence is really dedicated to just them. And so for us here on Chincoteague, I feel like, yeah, Chincoteague would exist without the ponies, but would it be the same? Absolutely not. I think that's the one thing that really sets us apart from everywhere. It's a big deal. You know, the swim itself is so much organization and so much planning, and the event was going to continue up to this and hopefully long past this. It's such a short time, you know, 5 minutes is all it takes for the swim. And so you build up all year, and now, you know, you built up 100 years worth of tradition. And so it's kind of unfathomable for us. We really don't, you know, we've never experienced anything like this. And I don't think anybody around here has ever experienced an event that's lasted that long and been as big as this event.
Over the years, I've been in the fire company now. I'm coming up on my 34th year, and I tell you, it's a feeling of nostalgia. I've watched a lot of people come and go. I've seen a lot of people pass away, people that I've learned things from, and being able to carry on this tradition that my grandfather had a part in as well, it's a great feeling. You got 150 animals over there with their head down eating and chomping, and they might look up every now and then, and they have no idea how they control the economy. The next generation, and I tell everybody a lot, don't take this for granted. It could go away at any time. There could be a major storm that could wipe out the herd. There could be a major disease that wipes out the herd. You know, we're all getting older. We can't do this forever. We always try to encourage some younger people to come in and join the fire company. And I know it's hard. You know, you've got people working 2 jobs, you know, they're raising families, things like that. But without this fire company and without the ponies, let me back up. Without the volunteerism of the fire company and without the ponies, the residents here would be paying a fire tax that would probably double what you're paying right now in real estate taxes. And we don't want that to happen. You know, as long as I've got breath in me and the other guys say it too, we're going to be out here, we're going to do what we have to do. But it is so important, not just for Chincoteague, but generations everywhere, to step up to the plate and keep these things alive. Because, you know, this really is, pony penning and fire company really is the backbone of the island.
We have definitely changed to be a tourism-driven economy. At the core, people from Chincoteague, I think, are very eco-minded. They like to have a nice compromise between providing for the visitor, but also protecting the habitat and the environment and all that. I think we have right now a very good, equal, balanced relationship with tourism.
When I first got here, all the American original clam boats were down by Don Seafood, and I said, wow, this place is like for real. And then I looked around and I saw the marsh, and I said, this place is beautiful. And then somebody took me up the bay, and I said, oh yeah, this place is real nice. The nature here is beautiful. The beauty around here took it to another level. The greens are amazing. The color of the marsh is amazing. It's so much yellow in there. It's almost like a yellow green. In the middle of the summer, the springtime, it's just like incredible colors here. Look at the color of the sky even right now. Look at the clouds. The colors here are just, yeah, pretty cool. And the rust, the things that rust here, that brown and reddish because of the salt. The salt rusts everything here. They're educational tours, okay? I try to teach. I'm like almost like a marine biologist, a professor. I try to talk about history. I talk about the marsh. And it's not just textbook style. I throw the textbooks overboard. I throw the iPads. They don't work on the boat because I want you to feel, touch, get involved, get up into your knees in the marsh mud. I try to make people experience the marsh, not just look at the marsh. I think the younger minds are more open. I think they're like inquisitive and in awe of everything. I put them on a boat, first boat ride they've ever been on. Then we start picking things up like the little snails, and I had this one young lady, she was so scared even to pick up a little periwinkle snail. And by the time I got done, Mom, look. And after that, picked up everything. It's everything. That's my next generation. That's going to be the generation that's going to take care of all this beauty that we see. If they don't learn about that, I lost a whole generation, I lost the marsh. They got to respect it.
I like to show them the creation here, the nature, the birds, just how awesome it is. Because a lot of people come from areas that they don't see this kind of stuff. So that I really get excited about that.
I think people coming here are very satisfied with the life that they're going to experience while they're here. That's why they come generation after generation. We meet people all the time. They came here as a child, now they're a grandparent. They bring their children, their grandchildren, great-grandchildren, have been coming here for years. They might stay in the same house every year that they come down. It is a testament to this island, the people who are managing all the restaurants, taking care of all the homes, going and working out on the refuge, all the volunteers that make the events happen. I don't know there's another place on this whole planet that gets it right, just like Chincoteaguers do. It's a great experience.
You see people who come here as kids, they come back with their kids, and now they come back with their grandchildren. And they expect us to be here at Big Open and be sort of what they remember. So yeah, it's just a pretty cool part of the business. And people come here for that. They come here for the small town, local feel.
Here on Chincoteague, we love to see the visitors come. We love to see them enjoy themselves. Of course, we love to see them spend some money here. Come August, September, we're like, okay, let's take a deep breath. Come January, when you don't pass a car on the street, okay, let's take this deep breath. But let me tell you something, by the time middle of February rolls around, we're ready. We're ready to get open back up and get things going again. You need that break.
When people visit here, I hope that they do realize that Chincoteague Island is a refuge. There's a ton to do over there if you want to enjoy nature, if you want to see the wildlife, if you're a birder, if you want to visit the beach and swim. There's an abundance of that over there, but it is not going to be like an amusement park. You're not going to find that here. Come here because it is a step back in time. It is a respite from your very busy lives, and you can come here and kind of celebrate the quietness of it.
Don't expect things to be in a hurry. I hope they know that it's nice and calm. We're very friendly. Come, enjoy it, but don't get upset if something takes a little longer than you're used to.
Everyone that does anything here is volunteer. And so this whole event, the carnival, the pony swim, the auction, the swim back, the beach walk, everybody there loses money. So it's not just like we're volunteering. Like, I take off work the whole week. A lot of the cowboys from Maryland, they take off and come here the whole week just to work for us. It costs a lot to be a cowboy or a girl, and so it's not something that we do lightly. These people put on a lot of personal sacrifice, whether it's hours of the day or anything like that, to be able to make this event go.
First of all, I want them to come. I want them to relax. You know, as soon as they come over the bridge, just take a deep breath, relax. This is a very laid-back atmosphere. You've got plenty of time to see and do everything you want to do. When you go home after your vacation here, I want you to have that feeling of, wow, that was the most, fun, relaxing week I've ever had anywhere. This is not the hustle and bustle. If you want that, we're not for you. If you want to relax and come and enjoy family time and friend time and just, chill out, then we're definitely your place.
When you live on the island, and I've lived here all my life, the change is such that it's so gradual, you don't realize it's changing quite as much.
I like the small feel. I think Chincoteague should stay a lot of where it is. I feel like the tourist load on the island is perfect to still keep it small feeling and still naturally as beautiful as it can be.
Life has changed, the beach moves, it's changed. If we did this interview 20 years ago, I'd have a black beard and have a black hair, It changes, and just roll with the changes. That's life, roll with it. It's all good.
I love to travel. I can be going 2 weeks at a time, but I always know I'm coming home, if the Lord allows me to come home. Coming across that drawbridge from being gone for 10, 12 days, it's a great feeling knowing that I'm back home in my safe place. I'm back home where everything started for me, back home where my family is, back home where everything's familiar to me. It's a very warm, comforting feeling to come across that drawbridge and, wave to somebody as you're going by, and you're familiar with different smells and sounds and things like that. Living here on Chincoteague is like living nowhere else. And I say that because I'm born and raised here. Somebody who's from Nebraska would probably say the same thing. There's nothing like it. But, Chincoteague is just so unique and special in so many ways. And again, I don't have words to describe all I'd want to say about it, but Chincoteague is a place if you want to relax, enjoy life, a slower pace, this is the place for you.